Welcome back to Buzzworthy. I'm your host, Shalicia Harris. And today in the studio, we have Yanique Brandford, who is the founder of Help a Girl Out, who is all about menstrual equity. Something I actually didn't know was such a huge problem in the world. And when I heard Yanique's story for the very first time, she's been referred to us in so many ways, but we finally got to sit down today. Her story is so impactful and it reflects the lives of so many. And it's a story that isn't told often because it's not sexy. It carries a lot of shame. It carries a lot of weight. And I hope this conversation really opens everyone's eyes to the struggles women, young girls go through on a regular basis. And Unique took her own story and built Help a Girl Out, which is quite self-explanatory. Yanique, welcome to Buzzworthy.
Thank you for having me. Really nice.
I'm so excited to hear more and have you tell your story to our audience. Not just because it's an important story, but I think it's a story that shows no matter where you are starting, you can take everything you have and build something into something that you love, and the passion of it that really shows that something has purpose in your life. And you were someone that has done that quite well. And, you know, I'd love for you to take us into what do you think set you up as an entrepreneur? And I want to make sure you kind of cover where you started and where you sort of landed now as even a nuclear engineer.
Thank you. It's a bit of a long story.
Yeah.
But I really grew up in Jamaica, and I was a part of a low-income family. My dad was actually killed when I was born, and so everything was dependent on mom, who didn't actually finish high school growing up. So a lot of her life was just, finding a way for her kids. And so she used to juggle multiple jobs, just to make ends meet. And oftentimes we lacked, various things like, bus fare or school books or menstrual products was a big one. And so it was basically a story of struggle and overcoming and finding different ways to do different things, like walking to school when we didn't have bus fare, or, sharing lunch with someone else or sharing books with someone else. Menstrual products, my mom would craft them up out of cardboard and newspaper just so that her kids could go to school, because school was very important for her, because she feels like that opportunity was taken away. And so, my upbringing in Jamaica was, it was very tough, but I really feel like I had a very good childhood.
Yeah.
And my mom tried her very best to make sure that we had that educational background, which was really, really cool. And seeing that I'm a physicist now, I can really just attribute that to her determination to make sure that we got a quality education. So shout out to my mom.
Shout out to mama.
Such an inspiration to me. It's a really, really, really nice mother. And I think I was very lucky to have her. So I landed in Canada at the age of 14. It was so new, very different. I had a very strong Jamaican accent, which means nobody could understand me. And I sort of remember, eating lunch in bathroom stalls, just, being very scared to be out there in society, in a place where I don't know, and with a lot of students that I didn't really recognize myself in, because I didn't really find a lot of Jamaicans in my school. And it was just very hard to integrate into the Canadian system. And I feel like I didn't really have anyone to lean on. I was sort of on my ones, trying to make it through and get the hang of everything. And landing here as a new immigrant, we landed in a family that had domestic violence. So the man controlled the money. So it was very hard to sort of figure out, okay, but how do we afford certain things? We don't really have a job. We don't really speak perfect English. People can't really understand us. We have, foreign experience. A lot of this you hear from new immigrants and refugees all the time.
Very standard immigrant experience in a lot of ways.
Exactly. Yeah. So we sort of lived that and just sort of trying to navigate how to deal with it. And I remember my mom creating those cardboard pads for us again here, which was really shameful because I thought I had left that life back in Jamaica.
Yeah.
So to have happened here was sort of, it invaded into the Canadian dream that I thought I was, inheriting. So that was a little sad. And so when I went to school, I also landed on the meal program because the teachers were noticing that I didn't have lunch either. And it was on that meal program that I found girls from all over the world that were also lacking access to food, also struggling with the same things I was. And period poverty was something that was rampant among all of them. So I'm there wearing my cardboard pads. A lot of the girls were not coming to school, and I'm starting to
just notice.
Yeah, I'm starting to really notice. Like back home, it was just that we were poor. You know, this is something that comes with poor people back home, third world country. Your experience is not unique, right? But then when I was here, I started to notice. I was like, where is that person for like 1 week at a time, and like, why are you not here? And then we would have these like backdoor, very hushed conversation with like, what happened to you? Like, and these were my friends that I was relying on to integrate, into school. So like when they weren't there,
you felt it.
I felt it. You know what I mean? And so anyway, it was on the meal program that I realized just how widespread period poverty was, because it was girls that were coming from India, from the Middle East. There were girls that would come from different African countries, different Caribbean countries, and we all had that same story of shame and lack of access to menstrual products, in addition to not having lunch money and all of these other things. So that's when I really got frustrated. And I was like, oh my God, we're just trying to go to school.
Yeah.
That is literally all. And this is basic. And the lack of these products is just, putting such a big barrier in front of us, just trying to do the bare minimum of going to school, which I thought was just unacceptable at the time.
And I think it is unacceptable. It absolutely is. And when, you told me your story for the very first time, I personally was quite shocked because, I went to a school here in Hamilton, Sir John A., that had kids from over 83 different countries. And I had no idea. I had no idea that
it's not something you say
like
to
that,
people.
was even like prevalent, like sometimes you could help out, but you have no idea. So now that I actually know and like am aware of it, it makes me look back very differently on, oh, maybe that's why this person didn't, show up as frequently. And then it just looks as like, oh, they're just a bad student. And then people get labeled, and nobody really understands sometimes those underlying struggles that were actually happening. Yeah. And one thing you said that was, I think, quite powerful is that you thought you left that in Jamaica. Which is, a developing country, and you're just like, I left that behind, my Canadian dream. I'm ready for it. You probably just had like all the stars in your eyes, and then this one thing just pulls you back to what you thought you escaped in some way.
Yeah, it was a very deep frustration when I realized just how widespread period poverty was, and the fact that, it could be here in a land of like how most immigrants see it, as the land of opportunity, where the possibilities are endless. You don't really think about certain, third world problems, for lack of a better way to say it. Like
in the first
following
world.
you here.
Yeah. That's amazing. And once you sort of found this community, even though the community was, on the meal plan and things like that, one of the things I've noticed about you, even at the short story you've told so far, is you always just have this real positive perception of like what life was for you. Like the thing you said that really sat with me and I think is quite important is, even though you guys struggled in Jamaica, you felt like you had such a good childhood. And I love that. Like, can I ask you, why do you think, even though life from an external perspective looked so hard and so dire, it made you feel like you still had such a good childhood?
Yeah. A lot of it had to do with, it's sort of like as a visual representation, like a flower growing through concrete. And so it was like as a result of like a lot of trauma in my life and in my mom's life, she sort of created this barrier around us where a lot of times we were able to laugh in like the worst of situations. Like I remember Christmases not having a Christmas dinner as they called it, and we'd be eating like, chicken back and rice, which, chicken back is like the lowest you can go because it's just bones. And we'd be there like giggling about it and just like, making light of the situation. And the chicken back would be nice though. It would taste good because my mom's a good cook. Or, the fact that I did have a childhood outside because we didn't have a TV, I was, playing marbles with stones. I was, climbing trees. I was, running up and down like a crazy kid on the street. Like, so that's the childhood I had, regardless of the fact that, there might not be food inside. I go over to my friend's house if they had food and they would feed me, you know what I mean? And it was just very, very positive, childlike, idyllic in that way, where like we looked at our struggles and we just said, well, and we just moved on and thought of it very positively.
Yeah. The reason I really wanted to ask that question is because I think people make like things that are like non-problems such big problems and barriers and mountains in their lives, whereas you and your family faced, real basic human problems, and yet there was so much joy in your life, and you can look back into your childhood with a lot of glee. And I think that in itself, when you tie that to entrepreneurship, when you get into those really dark moments of entrepreneurship, even though it looks so dark, there is still some joy in it.
You got to pull out the light.
You have to pull out the light. And it's just like these bad experience or these negative experience people might think happen in their lives. There is light in all of it. And once you find it, it means that you can always move on from it. Yeah.
One thing that I am in all that I do is grateful, right? And humble. So I feel like on my journey of entrepreneurship, there's always like good things and steps forward that are happening. But then in the back, there's all these negatives, these barriers that you have to overcome, these hills you have to climb. And they're always happening in conjunction with each other.
Yeah.
And so like one of them like really elevates you while the other one really puts you down. It keeps a good a good, solid mid-ground. And I feel like I operate in the mid-ground a lot. It gives me enough positivity to be able to greet people authentically, but then it also makes me not overly confident. I'd say it puts me in a good place. So I really like that.
A place of learning, I think. That's a really good place. And I mean, education and learning has been a core part of your life growing up as well too. It's one of the real core things your mom ensured you guys had, and it's something you grew to love because you did one of the hardest things.
Yep. Right?
Tell us about we'll get to some of the hard things that you've done, but tell us a little bit about your career and just finishing up school before we go back to like the very, very early days of Help a Girl Out.
Yeah, so I always say that my career found me. I kind of landed in it. So picture this, young high school girl, new to the country, and in the land of opportunity. Back home in Jamaica, I could only aspire to so much because I know my family would not be able to afford post-secondary, right? We were barely able to afford school fee just for like high school, right? And so there was always that barrier above my head. But when I came here, I was like, oh my God, I can do and be anything, right? And so because of that, I was like, I don't want none of these, all careers are wonderful. But like, I was like, I don't want none of these generic careers. I want to see if I can actually reach the stars. And so I had the audacity to think, that I could actually be more. And so I started looking for different careers that were out of the box. Like my sister's a nurse, for example. And I was like, I don't want to to be a nurse. I want to be something more than a nurse, which nurses are great.
Nurses are great.
And that's where I found physics. And I was like, it's kind of like off the beaten path. Like, I don't know any physicists.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was my math teacher that mentioned a career in physics. And I was like, And I didn't find just physics. I wanted to do medical imaging because I was an artist. I like to do art paint, glass blowing, that sort of thing.
Cool.
And I was like, medical imaging, like it's very colorful. You could see inside the body, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed a physics grade. And so I went on to do grade 13, which was trauma in itself because there is a stigma out there that people think that students that do grade 13 are actually not smart and didn't have what it took to graduate. But I actually graduated and I needed that physics mark to actually get into that career because I didn't have a mentor to tell me what subjects I needed. So by the time I figured it out, I was like, gotta go back.
That's okay. And I think it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
It's absolutely the right thing to do. Like, even for myself, I applied to in grade 12, I applied to all the universities and colleges to get into nursing school. And I actually did get in. But by the time it was time to accept everything, I was just like, is this actually what I want to do? And I'm like, before I spend money to do this, coming back to high school to do co-op to figure it out.
Yeah.
And long story short is I still ended up graduating university before all of my friends that went to university before me.
Right? There's this thing about being rushed, it's like, oh, if you don't graduate now, you're behind
And you're a failure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And exactly. And so I took that extra year to get my physics mark. And I was supposed to get into Michener College. Michener, Michener in Toronto? No? Well, it's like this very specialized institute, and they had the program that I wanted, but I needed to do one generic year of university to even get in. So now I had physics, I had what I needed, I just needed a generic year. So I said, well, instead of wasting another year of my life, because again, now I felt really behind, I said, I'm just going to do this medical physics course at Ryerson, do my year, get out of that, and then, go to Michener. And so that's what I did. I did all the multiple interviews to get into Michener because it's very hard to get in. And I actually
never heard of it.
No? It's like, I don't know what other programs they had, but they're very big on the physics program.
Okay.
And I actually got in. And it was a conditional offer, and I needed your final physics mark or something like that to fully go all the way through.
Yeah.
And I remember doing half the class doing really well on physics that semester. And guess what the teacher did? He actually made the exam so hard that we all failed. Yeah. It was crazy to me. I still gave him the side eye because, I was at that school for a while. So every time I would see him in the hallway, I'd give him that side eye and be like, I know what you did. Yeah. We all failed. And so my conditional offer was actually pulled. Yeah, after all that work, the interviewing, everything, it was actually pulled because they said my physics mark was too low, which right now sounds very ironic that my physics mark is too low. But so I actually stayed in the program that I was doing my 1 year in, which was a 4-year program for medical physics, which is applying physics to medicine, which is cancer therapy.
Okay.
Really. Radiation therapy is basically physics applied to medicine.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Never heard of it that way.
Yeah, so basically I did my 4 years in that, and during my 3rd year, I wanted to see what this career was going to be. So then I actually started volunteering in the graduate students program, helping some of them with their experiments. Started working with human bone and, researching how different contrast agents used in MRI could have contributed to, the concentration in their bones. And it was really interesting. And they realized that I had a knack for it. So then they invited me to apply for graduate school. So then I started to dive a little bit deeper into my master's. And my master's was in proton therapy, which is a really specialized radiation therapy treatment that can pinpoint cancer in the smallest parts of the brain. Wow. And it was really cool. We were developing imaging for that. And anyway, it was... That
is really cool. What do you think your younger self would think of you right now? As, this person who, struggled and maybe could not even go to university in Jamaica, to now when you got that opportunity, you were just so hungry for it. You grabbed it and you made yourself out of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say my mom was definitely proud, to see that her hard work and her, getting us to school really paid off. So it made me feel really, really good to see that, that pride and that, full circle moment when I graduated, in her eyes. So I think that was the biggest part for me. I have to say that I left cancer therapy and went into nuclear instead.
Yeah.
And that's how I landed in Hamilton. And I absolutely love the nuclear industry. I'm such an advocate for it. I think it's such an unappreciated industry because there's so many misconceptions around it.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of time like educating people on that because I feel like I'm in the space where I can fill the gaps. So I don't have to say it super technical. Like I can actually tell
Translate
anybody
it.
exactly,
Yeah.
translate it to anybody that, would like to learn a little bit more. And,
Give us
yeah.
something about nuclear that we all should know. Because I think people hear nuclear and they think nuclear weapons, especially in today's world right now.
Yeah, people think about the danger, but interestingly, Einstein developed nuclear because he saw that it was a very interesting and untapped source of energy. And bad people have bad intentions. They try to take good things and turn it into something negative, and that's what happened with nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
But nuclear is such a great power source, that can really solve some of the world's energy problems. Like imagine like the poorest countries, them having light and, have it not be expensive because nuclear energy, like it's so cheap to make. Right. And a lot of people think about nuclear waste or nuclear plants as being dangerous, but the waste that it produces is so minimal compared to like how much energy and fossil fuels. Right. So I think the costs of like creating a little bit of waste, it's much outweighed by how much energy you get from it too. So yeah, I just think it's an appreciated industry, and I wish people understood it better.
Yeah.
And the role that it plays in cancer treatment as well. So in nuclear, we actually get the medical isotopes that treat cancer out of the reactor.
Oh.
So it's like this full circle thing that actually helps us so much more than people realize.
That's so interesting. Very, very interesting. So as we go back to your journey of Help a Girl Out, I wanted you to sort of give your full experience from, your childhood to sort of where you are now career-wise. But in all of this, you were building Help a Girl Out.
Oh, yeah.
And you started in high school. And I love this starting story. Tell us what that was.
So in high school, when I realized that a lot of the girls were experiencing period poverty just like me, I sort of got so frustrated, and I'm like, what can I do about this? And the same time I got frustrated is when they gave me my first credit card. I did not have a job. There was no right now indication of like why you would give a 16-year-old a credit card when they don't have money, to pay it back.
Yeah.
But they gave me a credit card, and to me, that meant power. That meant I'm not going to lack menstrual products anymore. I'm not going to lack food. And I bought so much menstrual products for me and my friends. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to bring these to school. And I would travel with these products, and everybody knew to come to me if they didn't have access. So I became like this, I don't like the word dealer, but
you were a period product dealer.
basically. And so, yeah, I would bring these products to school, and like people would come up to me, and I would like, slide a tampon. I didn't even use tampons, and I would slide a tampon over and just having, them being so appreciative, because it's at your worst moment. Like, you feel so vulnerable not being able to take care of yourself, and to have someone like have that, you're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Right. And so I became that for a lot of folks, and for, school down the street and the school down the street. Like the more people knew I had products, the more people they would send to me.
Yeah.
And pretty soon, like I ran out of these products, and I needed to do like donation drives. So I started doing donation drives for products. And different like parents of people that I've helped would do a drive at their workplace. And then after doing that for a couple of years, they're like, listen, my boss is asking questions. They're asking me why I'm always asking people to buy, pads and bring them into work. So I need you to explain it to them, which is when they're saying like, basically, I need you to tell them what this is.
Yeah.
So it's like people were asking like what entity is this? And like starting an organization was like not something that you think about at like 18 years old. Like what even is like a charity or like a entrepreneurship? What? You know what I mean? And so that's when I sort of Googled how to start a charity because I kept getting these questions. And so it took me 5 minutes through Google to register with Corporations Canada. I did my bylaws using like, pulling from different sources. Okay, I guess we'll use this one. I guess we'll use this one. And it just sort of came together that way. But I have to say, like, it took 5 minutes to register, but the hard work came after.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. That's amazing. I mean, first, so I work in fintech, and one of the big things I push is financial literacy. And, I want to frown on the guys that sent you a credit card at 16 and you didn't have a job. You didn't probably know how it really worked because, just through our conversations, I learned that it took you, like 2-3 years to pay it off after the fact. And it was only $500.
Yeah.
And so the amount of interest you paid at that time, but knowing your story, that is like a non-factor in my eyes because you were that one person that took this opportunity and really maximized it.
I mean, it gave me the wings to think that I could make change.
Yeah.
That's what that credit
Yeah.
card really did for me. And looking back, like I wouldn't change a thing.
I agree.
Because it's the reason why we're,
Here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I am, and that's why I say, like, from like a financial literacy perspective, I'd be like, that was a really bad move on whatever bank that sent you that credit card, because it's kind of predatory behavior in some way,
Yeah.
right? But it was just the right opportunity for you.
Yeah.
And it landed in the right hands, And I don't think there are any coincidences. So
Exactly.
it had to happen for you.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I look back and I'm really grateful about that start. Another thing that sort of helped me get my start was there was this lady at my church that so I was an art student. I was, very, like, I thought art was going to be my career, but mom was like, look for something that can pay you money. And so there was this one lady at church and I told her like just how much I was really enjoying like working with glass art. And she's like, well, you know what, you should apply for this, grant and get some funding to, start up your little business. And it landed me in this community in Brampton. Brampton Entrepreneur Center is the name. And I got my first mentor there, which power of mentorship. Oh my God. But yeah, I was 16 at the time. So the same time I'm doing like, giving people menstrual products and stuff like that. I never thought that was going to be as big as it was because I was really into this glass art thing.
Yeah.
And basically I got this grant, Brampton Summer Company grant, which was really great.
Yeah.
And I started my business. And when I went into the bank, they're like, well, we've never done a bank account for a 16-year-old before, but since you're with the Entrepreneur Center, here you go. And so meanwhile, I was doing that, handing out menstrual products, they were building confidence in me. That community was building audacity. I use that word a lot because that's how I felt like it did for me. It really validated that I can do this, and that there are people that will rise up to support me. And so, so that never took off. I mean, I sold jewelry out of my garage for like, a summer and a half and it never took off. But meanwhile, I was learning the skills from my mentor on like how to, rally support and how to go to events and, talk about like what you have. And so when I did register Help a Girl Out, I was in my first year of university. And I used all of those skills that I built when I was 16 from that little, summer business to sort of, that was my runway to take off.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's amazing to me because so many of the entrepreneurs that we have on the show, when you look at them as teenagers, they were already just like paving a path for themselves in some way, shape, or form, whether it was through volunteering or, you know, just taking a step slightly bigger than their peers to like make something happen. What do you think was in that made you say, I can make that change? I can be different in this way?
Um, I so when you sort of say the name "Help a Girl Out," you sort of hear my frustration. So the name came from like a sort of um, a sort of just what can I say? I was very, very angry at the fact that, people didn't have this basic thing. So everything I did after that just came from this shouldn't be a thing. We're just trying to go to school. We're just trying to go to work. We need, menstrual products are basic. Like we've been menstruating since the start of time. You know what I mean? Like this is not new. You know what I mean? 2026, like it came from frustration, and so the name of the organization really like highlights that, and so I think that's why I started, and that's why I pushed, is because I believe so much that at the bare minimum, society should help us make sure that everybody has this basic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. And was the phrase help a girl out something you actually found girls were saying to each other during that time?
Honestly, I know I thought of it in the shower. I don't know where I've ever heard it. I know it's not Jamaica vocabulary.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I watched a TV show one day and it just lived in the back of my head. But in the shower, I remember one day I did not have menstrual products.
Yeah.
And this was after I was distributing menstrual products, right? I did not have an endless supply. I literally was at a point where I distributed everything I had. I got my period. I still don't have any money in my bank account because, right, I bought it off of a credit card, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm still low income and I didn't have menstrual products. And I remember I was in the shower and I got my period and I was like, why can't someone just help a girl out? Just help me out.
Yeah.
And that was me in the shower. And then when I was thinking, like, I was literally on the page to register, and I was like, oh, what should I call it? Help a girl out. You know what I mean? And yeah, I really don't know where it came from before that. But yeah, it was born out of frustration for the fact that this wasn't available.
Yeah. It's a huge frustration. And in 2026, right? We would have think the world has moved forward and period poverty is not really a thing. Like, are there any like stats or anything that really shows the magnitude of the problem?
Yeah. So that really shows the magnitude. Maybe not, because this is not something people will openly tell you. But the stats that currently exist right now, I can tell you. So they estimate that 500 million girls around the world are experiencing period poverty. In Canada, that's 1 in 5 Canadians.
Wow.
And for low-income Canadians, it's 1 in 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when you see a group of 3 to 5 girls hanging out in the mall, on university campuses, even maybe as friends once you've had full-time jobs, even because life is expensive now. So, it really could be 1 in every 5 women you see walking down the street.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And you never know because it doesn't show on their faces, right? Everyone knows that, when you're a student, sometimes you're not able to go to school and work at the same time. It was very hard for me to do that, studying physics and working, and doing Help a Girl Out. It was very hard, right? And so in that time, like, a lot of students are not employed, and OSAP doesn't give you a lot of living expenses, money for living expenses.
Yeah.
So a lot of students are experiencing period poverty, and they're smiling, they're going to school, they're doing the thing, right? And it doesn't show on their faces. And
Yeah.
so for a lot of people that say, I've never lacked this, I would be like, that's really great.
That's a privilege.
But
Absolutely.
there are so many people that, are choosing between having lunch and buying a pack of pads.
Wow.
And the dispensers they're either empty or nobody walks with 25 cents, right? Or, maybe people don't have 25 cents.
Yeah.
Or maybe there are no dispensers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And recently there was some legislation that changed to help support, I think specifically high schools
High schools.
in
Yeah.
Ontario, or is
Middle
that
schools and
in
high
Canada?
schools in Ontario
Okay.
now have to have menstrual products for their students. I mean, it's not a one size fits all solution, because even if you have menstrual products in your high school, you're getting one or two from the principal's office, because a lot of these high schools don't have dispensers. So you go down to the principal's office, you'd be like, oh, could I please have a pad? You work up that courage, could I
Yeah.
please
So
have a
there's
pad? And they
that
give
big
you
bear
one
still
pad.
there.
They give you one pad, but if you're somebody experiencing period poverty and you don't know where your next pad is coming from, you're now reusing that one pad or stacking toilet paper on top of that one pad to make it last longer, right? So it's not a one size fit all. And I've known some schools that have run out of supplies that they got from the government. And I know some schools that have excess because the students don't know how to access it, or students in that area don't experience period poverty as much as in other areas.
Yeah.
And the research that was done before that program was implemented just wasn't, enough, right? And if you give somebody a light pad, but there's somebody with a heavy flow, you're giving them basically toilet paper, to manage their flow. So there's so many different areas where the program falls short, but a win is a win.
A win is a win. Absolutely.
And that is definitely a win.
Yeah. A huge win. And it's a win for the high school and middle school students, girls. But then you go to college and university.
Yeah.
And the support there is lacking. And that's where a lot of I would assume Help a Girl Out is really supporting girls and women across the spectrum, right?
Oh, yeah.
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 So what are some of the core things that you are doing in Help a Girl Out?
So just staying on the line of menstrual products, we distribute menstrual products to individuals and organizations, because a lot of times people are experiencing period poverty at home, right? And so making sure that they have a product, a box of products shipped to their door is like one of our main program. It's called the Period Product Support Program. It's a lot of P's. Period product support, basically. And we ship 3 months supply of menstrual products to the doorstep of the person that needs it.
Amazing.
And we're the only organization that does that. And it's really based on my own experience, right? Being at home and not being able to access these products and not being brave enough to go out and like ask, someone on the street for help.
Yeah.
And so, and they get it tailored to their flow. So they do get heavy if their flow is heavy, or, light, medium, a mix if they want to, which I think is very important in this, in the fight for menstrual equity, because you can't just give someone a light pad if they have a heavy flow. Like, you can't solve it that way.
Yeah.
We also give reusables so that people can have like a consistent access. So even if after that kit runs out, they have something.
Yeah.
So that's one of our main programs. And we also give it to organizations. So we do give to schools, we do give to youth centers, we do give, to organizationally, shelters and such. And then the other program is our education program, because menstrual stigma is a whole other beast, right? Uterine health and wellness is a whole other beast. Like, we're now seeing society waking up to the whole fact that women's health is underfunded.
Yeah.
And under-researched, and that we don't really know, and even doctors don't even know what's going on down there sometimes, which is why it takes like 10 years to diagnose endometriosis.
Which is mad.
Crazy.
Mad. Yeah. We're not just little men. Because
Basically,
that's how they've treated us.
Yeah.
Forever.
They research male bodies and they
Yes.
just think it's the same. Oh, copy paste. But it's not. Female bodies are so complex, right? And the fact that our uterus basically rebuilds itself every month, and it has its own conditions that are related to it that have been under research. So, it's a whole other beast. So Help a Girl Out tackles that as well. filling in the education gap when it comes to puberty education, because some teachers are very much influenced by the stigma associated with menstrual, with periods and menstruation. And so they might rush through that part of the curriculum. They might jump that part of the curriculum, or they might just not give like a full picture, right? For example, a lot of folks don't get taught like how to actually use and dispose of a pad. They might, maybe they get lucky and they're taught like what a period is, but who's teaching them like hygiene and stuff like that if they're not getting it at home?
Yeah.
Because remember, parents, a lot of these parents don't want to talk about periods because it's so close to, sex ed, because you're dealing with reproductive organs.
Yeah.
So we find that a lot of cultured parents don't like, approaching that conversation with their children, which means that if the teachers aren't filling the gap and the parents aren't filling the gap, there is someone there that doesn't know how to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So we fill that education gap as well. And then we do a lot of empowerment campaigns, trying to take periods out of like the shadows and sort of bring it to the light, not in a way that to sort of, make people uncomfortable, but in a way to make them know that it's natural. Because even though it's obvious, a lot of people are not putting those two together, that it's menstrual blood is not dirty. It's natural. It's where you came from.
Yeah.
And it's vital for like the continuation of society. So you need to know and understand your body. And so we do a lot of empowerment around that.
I love that. It's interesting because it's something that, I feel you're right. A lot of cultures do shy away from it because it is so close to sex itself. But it's just like, that is where life started, and we all come from there in some way, shape, or form, except for very, very few in the world. But it's a core part of life, and there's so many stigmas around it, the sense of feeling unclean and not necessarily just from yourself feeling that way, but others making you feel that way.
Yes, exactly.
And so I can definitely see and understand some of the challenges around that. And I'm glad you have grown beyond just distributing and now having people understand what's going on, so then they can identify, am I struggling with something in this area?
Exactly.
Because that's where it starts, right? If you don't have the conversation and then you don't know what's normal, I'm using normal in quotations because normal is also on a spectrum, right? Is like, if something does change, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for your health? What does that mean for your body? And I think a lot of people, especially for women specifically, like, your menstrual health is sometimes a very strong indicator of your overall health.
Oh, yeah.
And so it doesn't necessarily just come down to, the products that you need to use, but how do you understand this thing to understand your overall health? And now menopause is like the biggest topic in the world right now, and it's all tied back to your period or the lack thereof it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like now society is sort of finally waking up to that side of things. And like one of the simplest example I always give people on like when to realize what's normal and what's not is a lot of us really we sort of normalize struggle as women, Sometimes we just accept it. Oh, it's hard, and we just accept it and move on. But painful periods are not normal. Correct. And I remember boasting with my friend group about whose cramps are worse than whose. Right? As if it was something to boast about. Oh, my periods are so bad.
Yeah.
No, my periods are so bad. And I curl up in bed. And really, that's an indication that there's something going on. Periods are not supposed to keep you from doing regular activities.
Yeah.
And most people don't know that.
Yeah.
Periods are not supposed to be too heavy. So, for example, I learned in educating others, I learned that periods are actually a couple tablespoons of blood.
Yeah.
for a normal period.
Yeah.
So if you think you're losing a gallon, there
That's a
is something
problem.
going on there.
Major.
But we were never taught what normal is.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like society is finally waking up to different conversations, doing a little bit more research, because we're still not where we need to be.
Yeah.
But they're doing a little bit more research about endometriosis and fibroids and who it affects more than others, because we know fibroids affect almost 50% of Black women by a certain age, right? And so the connection with like why that is that it disproportionately affects us, that's finally being researched now, which I think is like
that's
incredible.
Huge. Yeah, that's huge. Huge.
And so, yeah, I feel like, society is finally waking up to that. And I feel like there's so much work left to be done in terms of educating. And we really have our work cut out for us. But first, we have to get over the fact that a lot of people just connect it so much to reproductive health. But I feel like our hands are full just with menstrual health.
Yeah.
Because think about it. Menstrual health is not just about your period.
No.
It's a 28-day cycle. It's about your hormones. It's about your moods at different times. It's about, like, there's ovulation, there's the luteal phase, there's the follicular phase, and so much to be explored in all of that.
Yeah.
It overlaps with diet. It overlaps with
stress. Yeah.
There's just so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think when people hear menstruation, they only think about that small part, which is a big part.
Yeah.
But like, there's just so much more.
Every part of it matters. Yeah. And one of the things that you're also doing in sort of your teaching phase is not just having, women when girls depend on just you providing these menstrual products all the time, but teaching them how to make sustainable ones. And that's been a huge thing that is growing in the industry with companies like Knix making period underwear and things like that, which makes it easier because then you can rewash it. You have one pair, but I think some of the Knix rewashable period underwears, they're like $80.
They're expensive.
They're expensive.
They're quite an investment.
They're an investment.
They're an investment.
They are.
An investment.
Yeah.
I find that reusable period products are really the solution to so many things. They're the solution to period poverty. But if you're not experiencing period poverty, they're the solution to, reducing waste and reducing your footprint.
Yeah.
And they're also really comfortable. They're very comfortable to wear. And I feel like society is so used to one type of things. I feel like sometimes you have to give people permission to try other things.
Yeah.
Like I find like a lot of people just stick to the one that they were taught to use. If they were taught to use like the generic pads, some people won't try tampons because they're like, well, I've never tried it before and this is the one that I know. But like there's a range of products. Choose the one that's most comfortable for you. So if reusables are comfortable for you, that's great. Yeah. Tampons, pads, that's great. If all of them, feel empowered to use all of them. And so I feel like a big barrier to people using reusables or even trying them is the fact that they still think menstrual blood is dirty. So I do spend a lot of time, talking about reusables while teaching about the fact that menstrual blood is not dirty, which is as simple as just defining what a period is. Because I go into rooms full of women all the time, educated women at that, like lawyers, educated women. And I'd be like, so who can tell me what a period is? And crickets chirp.
Yeah.
And it still shocks me to this day.
Yeah.
And so when I define it as just, the uterus shedding its lining, the lining that it builds up every month, to accommodate a baby, right? It just sheds it because it doesn't need it. And it comes out with the lining, some mucus, and some blood. And very little blood at that, if it's just a couple of tablespoons.
Yeah.
Right? And really, that's what a period is. And the fact that we swam around in there for 9 months, we drank it, we had a good time, we came out okay.
Yeah.
That means you should be okay to touch it. It's not going to poison you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's actually a sterile environment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it includes a lot of stem cells that can actually be repurposed for different medical reasons. It's a extremely interesting organ. And I have so much respect for an organ that can rebuild itself every month. Like, wow, it's so beautiful. And we treat it as if like it's the worst thing on us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, we spend a lot of time telling people like what menstrual blood actually is. And we find a lot of people be like, oh, and they feel better, right? And so then they're able to, say, okay, I'll try it. And then when it touches them, they don't act like, they're gonna like fall over and die. And then they're more likely to wash reusables at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think reusables are definitely, the way to go from like a sustainability standpoint, from a fiscal standpoint. Like, how do you manage your budgets if you have, you know, if you want to invest in some NYX reusables and you have, let's say, 5 of them, when do you ever really need to rebuy pads
I know. Some of them
after
can
that?
last up
And
to 7 years.
yeah, which is a super long time. And it really just cuts down like how much money you would spend over time on it. And then if you decide to make your own, because it's quite easy to do that. And
Yeah.
you have workshops that teach people how to as well too. It helps you monetarily like that. And if that can help you get to a place where it's just like I can manage my budgets better, I can predict if I have a pad because I am always in control of where the pad is, whether it's washed, it's dirty, it's clean, or it's, and I need to make another one because I lost this. You are really, it provides, I think, so much power and overall, again, just the sustainability of it all.
And the fact that they're actually comfortable. So another thing that I get from a lot of people is that they might be hard to wash. This is gonna take me away from my routine. I have to wash it right after I use it. But they actually have such simple wash instructions, and they actually can wait till wash day, and it is hygienic. Even if you make it wait till wash day,
Yeah.
just soak it in cold water. It takes 5 seconds to wash out one.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? So like a lot of people, like they don't even recognize that. They think, well, it's just going to be so much extra work on laundry day when really it is not. So I feel like, sort of like the FAQs, the frequently asked questions is so important in this movement. So, because I feel like I'm just repeating myself like every time I, find a new person. And so
Yeah.
we have the educational materials to put that out there just to say like, this is like very doable for you.
Yeah.
And they're so comfortable. One lady asked me, she said, well, pads stink after they stay in
The garbage.
the trash bin for some time. So she's like, I don't want to wear stinky underwear. Which is when I broke the news to her that plastic menstrual products actually contain fragrances in there that when mixed with menstrual blood is what causes the scent. Like when you actually wear reusables, you don't notice a scent. It's just regular.
Interesting.
Yeah. And a lot of people thinking that's them, which also helps people think that periods are dirty because they think they, smell that scent after, the pad's been discarded there and they
Yeah.
think, well, it must be dirty because it smells dirty.
Yeah.
But it's not you.
Interesting.
It's the fragrances that the companies add because they're adding good smell,
Yeah.
right? They think they're helping, but when it's mixed with menstrual blood, that's what caused the scent.
We got to clip that because that's actually, I never ever heard that before.
They also bleach the
Wow.
pads white just because people think white is
It's
a more
cleaner.
hygienic
Yeah.
color.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, we're actually at about an hour already, which is wild because I didn't realize we were this far in. And I want to talk about your journey specifically of building Help a Girl Out as a nonprofit. I don't think we've had one nonprofit. No, we haven't had a nonprofit on the show
Really?
before.
Oh, wow.
So welcome. You're the first one,
Thank you.
at least that I could remember. What was it like building like a nonprofit company? Because, a lot of people think nonprofit companies are like charities, but it really is a business in itself. What was that like for you building this through university? What were some of the challenges you came about building something that has so much stigma attached to it?
Well, one thing I could say is I never thought about I never thought I would end up living my life as the period lady. Um, that is not something that I thought I would just go through life doing, like teaching people about periods.
Yeah.
And coming from a culture that periods are very stigmatized, like, you know, in the Caribbean culture, like a lot of our curse words are actually just talking about periods, which is crazy. And I didn't even notice that until I started doing this work. It was very hard. Sharing my story and my struggle with different people was very hard for my family, which made it a very lonely
Yeah.
start. A lot of my friends didn't really understand the vision or why I was doing this. And so, yeah, it was very, very, very lonely at the start. And I have to say, consistency is key. Like, I hear people say that all the time, but I understood the vision. And so, being consistent when you have something that you believe in and you can really see how it's helping people, regardless of the naysayers, is really, really important.
Yeah.
And then you'll find your people. So I found my chosen village, you know, other people that really either experienced the same thing or they just empathized so much and they saw the passion that I had and the drive and they really wanted to be a part of that and help move that along.
Yeah.
I'd say that really, really helped my journey. I have to say it was hard because I did have time where people would, you know, it's really weird to say, but I had someone spit at me once. I've had people say, "How dare you?"
About what?
Periods. Periods are not like when I started this all those years ago. Periods were not. They're still not, but they were even more back then. Not a point of conversation, and just me setting up a booth somewhere, and you know, putting my little uterus on the place so that I could, you know, tell people like what it
Demonstrate.
is.
Yeah.
They just thought that was so insulting to them. And like people did that to me. And I was a teenager. And I could have stopped right then and there with my pride. You know, like it really hurt my pride. It really, you know, sort of put me at a low point. But I didn't. I kept going because I know the people that were experiencing this and I know that they needed my story. And like I just knew that I was working for something greater. So it became less about me and what other people did or said to me and more about the people that I helped. And I really, really like their story. Sorry, I'm tearing up.
That's okay.
Their stories when they got, you know, support just really kept me going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so now looking at the way society has sort of grown and their different menstrual equity organizations now is when finally reaping what has been sown for all those years is very humbling, I have to
love
say.
that.
Yeah.
I hope you're really proud of yourself, especially today. You just received an award for what you've been building and what you've been doing. And I think it's so honorable and it's so risky and it's so vulnerable to tell such personal stories of yourself like
Yeah.
that, especially at such a young age when people would just curl up inside and, you know, someone's spitting at you. I think spitting is the worst thing someone can
Same.
possibly do to
Same.
you.
Yeah.
Like those are things that can break people,
yeah.
but it's built you. And I hope out of your story today, what people can take is like the level of resilience that you have and the stories that you've shared, that nothing will stop you because you care so much about it and what's important to you. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, and that keeps you going. And I hope people take that away from this, along with all the knowledge you've given us about what periods are, how they're impacted, how people see them. It's an important part of our society. We are half the society, really.
Yeah.
And everybody should know. Men should know too,
Yeah.
right? Like every man has a mother. Like that's, that's it. And
They
if
all have someone they care about.
they have someone they care about, so literally this is a problem of 100% of humanity
Exactly.
because we're all impacted by it. And your story has absolutely impacted so many since you were 16, and that's been quite some time now.
Yeah.
And you're never going to stop, which I'm so happy about.
No.
Yeah.
I say that I love my career in nuclear, and I'm very passionate about everything that physics is and has to offer, and it's completely interesting, and it really is all that a career is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But this is my purpose.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So, when you look back on your journey of building Help a Girl Out, what's the biggest thing you've learned?
The biggest thing I've learned is that society is built up of a lot of really nice people. People are good, right? People have bad moments. Some people need to learn, but people are good at heart, at their core. And I'm very much an optimist, and I believe in humanity. I believe that, even the most difficult hearts can be changed. I believe that people sometimes just want to be inspired. They just want to be taught. And I think that, everybody was once a baby, where a baby's like a clean slate. And either their parents or society has taught them and has nurtured certain ideals and ideas into them. And basically, I feel like we are the ones that actually cause certain people to be the way they are. And I feel like no heart is too difficult to turn,
Yeah.
And so even though I've had those bad experiences, I've had a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so many good ones. And so when I see someone and maybe they're not as advanced in the conversation as, other people are, I just say, okay, well, I planted a seed and that seed can grow.
Yeah. I think that's such a great perspective to have, because sometimes people just want to beat information into you, and it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And that seed can sit and fester for very long. But until something becomes important to somebody because it impacts them very directly,
Yeah.
then that's when that seed starts to blossom, and that seed was never planted in vain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. What is one of the things you want to leave behind in this journey, so far in building a company?
One of the things I want to leave behind. Well, I'm not done here. There's so many issues that I find that are worth fighting for. I started with periods, but I feel as though Help a Girl Out is something that period poverty is solvable. So I feel like when, not if, when we solve period poverty and menstrual equity, I feel like I'm going to continue to change the world in any other area. Maybe I'll be a tree hugger, I'll plant trees. But in any area, and I feel as though I want a lot of young people to feel like they can, right? And they don't have to do one thing. They can do what inspires them, even if it's multiple things. Like, for example, I have this one volunteer. She volunteers for about 20 different charities. You know what I mean? She's helping the world in so many different ways, and I think that's so powerful. So even like just being a volunteer and helping like where you can with different issues that resonate with you,
Yeah.
I think that's something that I want to leave with society. Because even myself, like I spend so much time doing Help a Girl Out, but I'm also volunteering at other places as well. I would love for people to know that they can change the world no matter how small their input is,
Yeah.
and they can change the world in different arenas as well.
That's a really good thing to want to leave behind because it lives beyond you. And I think it taps into the first answer that you gave to that question, which is there is so much good in humanity. And if we continue to leave good things behind, then we're only helping us better ourselves as a human race as we move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last thing is, what's one thing you want to take into the future with you?
So something I learned today at the conference that I went to was the art of saying no. So a little bit off topic, but I'm definitely a recovering people pleaser. And the conference title today was Her Health, Her Power. And basically they were saying like how women a lot of times like put our health on the backbone,
Yes.
and to really, please and help and do all of that and think about themselves last.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that the lady said today, I forgot the name of the speaker, but she was basically saying like, your body's your only home. This is home. You can move everywhere else, but
Yeah.
this is home. And so she was basically saying, put your health first. And if something is, coming against your health, like having negative effects on your health, or if something's not the best for even your mental health, learn the art of saying no, so that you can be kind to this thing first, home
Yeah.
first. And so that's something that I'm going to take into the future with me, the art of saying no when something doesn't work for my mental health, or affects me in any other way that really puts myself on the back burner.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn the art of saying no.
I like that. That seems to be a theme right now on the show. The past couple of episodes, I'm pretty sure it came up at least once
Really?
in every episode. It's when to go in and say yes all the time, because there are seasons for that. There are times that we have to do it. And one of the conclusions I think myself and some of the guests have come to is like, you have to say yes in the discovery season of your life. And you didn't have to spend too much time discovering your passions and what you love and your purpose. You did that more from like your educational and your career background and that perspective. But period poverty became, just your lived experience transcended into help a girl out. And I think when you reach that point where you are happy in your career, you love what you do in nuclear, and then you have, an incredibly passionate company help a girl out, then yeah, you should be saying no to more things, because if you're going to spread yourself too thin, those two things that you care so much about are going to flatline eventually. And if you care about them as much as you've shown you cared about them, then absolutely say no to as many things so you can take every ounce of what you have today to make Help a Girl Out bigger than it is, while still, doing the super cool things you're doing in nuclear.
Thank you.
Yeah, it has been such a pleasure chatting with you, hearing your story. And I hope everyone takes away the gravity of the challenge and how solvable period poverty actually is globally. But for anyone here in Canada who is struggling with period poverty, you can visit helpagirlout.org
Yes.
and go on. You'll find the link. Is it an easy link to find? We'll put the link in the description, actually. So you can go and register and get 3 months of period products to ensure that you can sleep peacefully, knowing that part of your life is taken care of, so you can get up and do the things you really want to do every single day, whether that's go to school, build a career, build a business, excel your career, play sports, whatever that means for you. Help a Girl Out is here to do exactly that, help you out in a moment of struggle and in a moment where, it's something you can't control, but we all need help sometimes. Take advantage of it, because one day we know you're going to turn around and help another girl out or help another human out in some capacity. Thanks so much, Yanique. Loved having you here. And we're going to have so much information at the bottom so people can find Help a Girl Out, follow you, and support you as you build it even larger.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Awesome.